Today we'll study the poem The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney. Now this poem is a verse story. A verse story is a descriptive kind of a poetry. Also can be termed as a parable. Now this story is about six men and about their selfishness. These six men have different personalities. But what is common among their personalities is the element of selfishness. So it's about six men, it's about selfishness. These six men have different personalities, and what is common about their personalities is the element of selfishness. The situation or scene of this poetry is these six men are caught in a situation in deadly chilly weather, and the weather is so chilly that what is keeping them alive is the fire which is burning. So the fire which is burning with fire sticks is the only protection for them against this deadly chilly weather. So the situation is there are six men, selfish men, who are caught in a deadly chilly weather, and they are alive because of the fire. Now to keep the fire on, that is to keep the fire sustained, what would be required are sticks or wood. Okay, so if the fire has to go on, has to be sustained, then it would require sticks or wood, and all these six men possess the six sticks. All the six men possess these sticks which could actually help the fire burning. But due to their selfishness, did it happen? And why it did not happen is the entire poem is all about. Let's study the poem stanza by stanza. So let's first go to stanza 1. Let's read stanza 1. So what is stanza 1? Let's read the poem. Six humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. So as stated earlier, the six humans are trapped together in a situation where there is bitter cold and there is a fire which is keeping them alive, and each one possesses a stick of food, and if they part with the stick of food, feed it to the fire, only then would they remain alive. So it's a question of life and death, provided they part with the stick of wood that each one possesses. And or so the story is told. So what the poet wants to convey is that this was a story told to him. So that's how is the situation of the poem. So it's about a story which was told to the poet. Happenstance means by chance. So happenstance means by chance. What is to be noted here is, instead of men, the word humans is used. So that is the essence of the poem. It's about human behavior. Also there is a personification in the first stanza. Here the poet is actually personifying happenstance, which also means by chance or by coincidence. So this chance or coincidence is here has been personified. So six humans trapped by happenstance. So happenstance, chance or coincidence, is here actually personified. Let's go to stanza 2. Let's read stanza 2. The dying fire in need of logs, but the first man held his back. For of the faces around the fire, he noticed one was black. Now each man's personality is being discussed in the subsequent stanzas from the stanza 2 onwards. So here you will see that the first personality is introduced. The first man does not part with his logs, that is the sticks he have for the to continue the fire. And the reason why he is not giving up the stick is because he is a prejudiced person. Now, what is his prejudice? He is basically he is a racist. So who is this first person who is defined? He is actually a white man who hates black man. And since one of the men is black, this person does not want to give up his stick because of his prejudice. And what is this? His prejudice is that he is a racist. So because he is a white man who hates black man, he is not giving up his stick because he doesn't want to benefit the black man, because his racist nature, his personality does not permit him to part with the stick that he has. Let's go to stanza 3. Stanza 3 reads, the next man looking across the way saw one not of his church, and couldn't bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. Again, the next man is looking across towards the other men who are caught in this unusual circumstance, a life and death situation, and he does not want to part with his stick to keep the fire burning, because deep within he believes in sectarianism. This also reflects the sectarian church culture, which differentiate groups of people as different sects. So this person who is sectarian, who feels that he should not be parting with his stick because the persons who are apart from him, the others, are not of his own sect. So again, you will see that here the next man, the other man refuses to part with the stick because he feels that the other people with the others who belong to the other sect will benefit. Let's go to stanza 4. Let's read stanza 4. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? So this person with tattered clothes, he's a poor man who also has a stick, but he does not want to part with his stick. Give his coat a hitch, slightly adjust his coat, and he doesn't want to part or give away his stick because he feels the others are rich. The others are rich, and why should he give it to rich men who he feels are idle? That is good for nothing. So that's how it goes. The third person is a poor man in tattered clothes. He doesn't want to keep the fire burning, or we can say that despite a life and death situation, this person doesn't want to part with the stick because he feels that the rich will be benefited. So again, a very unusual aspect of the human personality comes to the fore, or the poet is trying to bring it to the fore. Now regarding the figures of speech used, you will see these question marks. So the poet is here using rhetorics, or also called as rhetorical questions. So rhetorics or rhetorical questions. Let's now read stanza 5. Stanza 5 reads, the rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store, and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. Now here the situation is, now there is the other man is a rich man, and he doesn't want to part with the stick or give it to the poor. He sees a poor man that, so he doesn't want to part with the stick because he feels that it will benefit the poor. And unlike the poor man, he feels that the poor men are lazy, whereas on the other hand, in contrast, the poor man thought that the rich men were lazy. So you will see here there is a contrast. with the previous stanza. So this stanza, the poet wants to highlight the rich versus poor ideology or the misunderstandings between these two classes of people in modern society. So that's how things are explained in stanza 5. What is again notable here is how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless, poor. So whatever he has earned, so his thinking is whatever I have accumulated. So basically this indicates wealth. So wealth, and how in modern society distribution of wealth is uneven, is not even, and that's what the poet wants to convey. So the modern society, the rich who are wealthy, they don't want to part with the wealth, they don't want to distribute their wealth because they feel that the poor are lazy. Okay, now let's go to the stanza 6. Stanza 6 speaks about the personality of the black man. Now the black man hates the white man, and because of this hate he does not want to give his stick to feed the fire, which though is going to be life-saving for them, he refuses to part with the stick because it would be giving warmth also to the white man. So the hate of the white man by the black man is highlighted in this. He is seeing it as a chance. So the black man is seeing this as an opportunity to take his revenge against the white man. So he is seeing it as an opportunity for revenge. Let's go to stanza 7. Stanza 7 reads, the last man of this fallen group did not accept for gain, giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. Now this person again is described as an opportunist. He is an opportunist. That means he expects in every situation something in return. So he is here again, his nature or his selfishness is different from the others. He is an opportunist who always wants something is in return, and that is his way of life, which is described in the poem as his game. So his way of life describes the game, which also is about his philosophy of life. So the entire philosophy of life is he should get something in return. So when he is sort of an investor. So whatever he invests has to have some returns. So that is again his level of selfishness that is described in stanza 7. Here also is the figure of speech that is used is a metaphor. The metaphor was how he played the game. So the game here indicates the person's life. So that is what this game means. Okay, then let's go to the 8th and the final stanza. Their logs held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They did not die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. So the poet wants to indicate that the passivity of the people here who finally died. They died because their passivity, their inaction. Still hands is used to signify death. So the passivity, inaction is led to their death. Still hands here, as it is describes death. Human sin was proof of human sin. What the poet wants to imply is their hands were stained with sin. The poet here also is indicating when he says they did not die from the cold without, but the cold within. Not because of the weather was chilly, but because their inner self was cold. They were heartless. And the death which is indicated by the poet also means spiritual death. The last two lines is example of an anaphora, and they are used for emphasizing the idea. So they did not die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. So you will see this, what is happening outside, what is happening within, and how these two lines of the stanza are placed, which is called as an anaphora. Now the poem The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney belongs to the modern period. So he is a modern poet, and the poem dates back to the 1960s. Okay, date back to the 1960s. Now, what the poet wants to represent in a way is contemporary American society. So it's basically, it documents or tries to show the mindset of the contemporary American society. So the message that the poet wants to give through this poem is about compassion and brotherhood, which is lacking in today's modern world full of opportunists. So it's a philosophical poem, contemporary modern period, belongs to the modern period, talks about the mindset of contemporary American society with the message of compassion and brotherhood, because without compassion and brotherhood the world cannot be a better place to live. So that's how this beautiful poem ends. Thank you.